Hey everyone, it is Friday and it is the 22nd of May. This is the swim lesson number 25, but I think we're going to do a little bit of review. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've started and incorporated, and hopefully that you can remember. We're going to talk first. One of the things we talked about with our littles was getting their face wet and how sometimes they don't like to get their face wet. And we just have to encourage them little by little by little. And if we start when they're little and we don't show fear ourselves, that it is going to help them a lot. We also talked about possibly as they get a little older, maybe putting goggles on. And it's often because the pool that they're swimming in, the chlorine is very strong sometimes, and it really burns their little eyes. And if their eyes don't burn, they're a little more able to get their face underwater. We've talked about blowing bubbles and how important it is to start with them when they're little, blowing bubbles in the water. Right now, I don't know that I want any child blowing bubbles in my face personally, but we will work on that in a little while. We've talked about different strokes. We've talked about the freestyle stroke. We've talked about the backstroke. We've talked about breaststroke, butterfly, side stroke, and elementary backstroke. We talked about floating on our back. We talked about floating on our tummy. We talked about the watermelon float, if you remember Molo doing that. We've talked about different breathing techniques. If you're doing the freestyle, you breathe on the side. If you're doing the breaststroke, you breathe in front of you. If you're doing the butterfly, you breathe in front of you. And Lord knows when you're doing that backstroke, you can breathe all the time because your face is out of the water. We've talked about how important learning how to streamline from the wall and pushing off with our arms out in front of us and our legs flat behind us. We've talked about push offs from the wall and how it's important to get our bottom right up there close and give us a push so that we're using all our legs. We've talked about how to dive from the wall and how to dive from the diving block. We've worked on flip turns, we've worked on open turns, and then just this week, we talked a little bit about synchronized swimming and water polo, two other very good swimming athletic sports that can be incorporated. So I'm hoping that you recap. Maybe you go back and think a little bit about what we've talked about or review what we've talked about. If you've got little kids and you're contemplating getting them signed up for swimming lessons, we have lots of good points and good tips, and we would love to have you and see you there. If your child is a little bit older than that, but still having some water controversy, maybe they're not quite ready to put their face in the water, we'd love to be able to work with you to be able to do that and teach them how to do that. And boy, if they just want to jump in there and go, we want to teach them the right and safe way so that they remain safe in the water. So, with all that said, I hope that you have a great Friday. Stay tuned next week. We will be introducing some of our swim instructors and some of our lifeguards, and each one will have points and very good techniques and tips to be able to share with you as we are preparing to start our summer swim lessons. Have a great Friday and a great weekend, everyone. Bye bye.